We will first get into some of Ontario Premier Doug Ford's reactions. I know that they reacted a little bit yesterday on the stream to some of his comments, both pre and post election election results. But here we have him saying that, or admitting finally, rather, that this system is broken. So, of course, referring to the criminal justice system that I would say doesn't really do any sort of justice these days. So we'll have a listen what he says, and then we'll come back for some comments.
There's so many great judges, first of all, and there's great JPs. I'm a strong believer in our judicial system, but it's out of control now. Like you see these criminals getting out on bail, not once or twice, 4 or 5 times, and going out and committing heinous crimes. There's a story that someone was out on bail 5 times and went in and killed a young lady. You know, this is absolutely ridiculous how these judges keep letting people out over and over and over again. I'm just done with it. We're going to hire tough on crime judges, tough on crime JPs to make sure that they follow the law and keep these people in jail because they're just being released. You could go in and kick in a door, put a gun to someone's head with kids in the house, terrorize that house, and guess what? By the time they get arrested and get out, it's the next day. And then they start mocking our police in the back of the police car. Don't worry, I'll be out by the time you start your shift. And what happens? They're out before they get, before they come back on duty. The system is broken, and there's a lot of terrible, terrible bleeding heart judges out there. You know something? If it happened to them, they might take a different look at it. And that's not a knock against all the judges, because there's good, qualified judges. We have great chief justices. Matter of fact, probably the best in the country. But the system's broken. And once these judges get into their position, they have this sense of entitlement. That's what drives me crazy. We were democratically elected as a government. And I always say the legislature is supreme, meaning the people are supreme. When you get a mandate to do something, you can't have judges constantly overruling the government. Or I have an idea. And then again, I'm going to emphasize, not all the judges. I've said it 3 times. But why don't we have the next election, the PC party, the Liberal Party, the NDP party, the Green Party, and the Judges Party? Because they overturn everything, right down to the bike lanes. So, we get democratically elected.
He goes on and on a little bit here, but you get the gist of what Doug Ford is saying. And it's really surprising because this is not the stance that Doug Ford has previously taken, right? Like this crime and chaos and disorder falling onto the streets in Ontario and arguably all across the country is not a new phenomenon. This has been happening for years, and we have been reporting on it at fixourcities.com, at our website there, where we highlight. I mean, it's primarily related to also the drug crisis, but the two really go hand in hand: the violence and the fallout on the streets and the public safety issues, and the idea that we can give addicts safer, right? Well, that R is really important, apparently. Safer drugs that are highly addictive, highly deadly, and are now being found on the streets cheaper and cheaper, going right into the hands of our literally children and youth. So this is a really interesting take. The polls must be in for Doug Ford, and he can see now that the party that he's pretty much part of, which I would argue is just kind of the little man in the Liberal Party of Canada, that he's now all of a sudden taking this stance against the crime and chaos the Liberal policies have been directly responsible for.
And I do agree with him in a sense that, yes, it's true, there is judges that have ideologies. And of course, they probably follow those ideologies when they take their decision. And I think it's great if we elect some judges because we can make them accountable of some decision that they did. But the thing is, the Liberals have put in place some bills that permit the judge to take those decisions. So it's also a big part of the Liberals government that was there before and still there today with a new face. Mm-hmm. But still, they need to repeal some of the bills that they actually voted in.
Yeah, we need another bail reform, right? We need to reform the bail reform that the Liberals brought in. And I hear it all the time, even in the small town of Cobourg, where crime, chaos, disorder, open air drug use, all of these things are proliferating on this one sleepy small town where people didn't even lock their vehicle doors. They didn't lock their front doors. This is a high trust society and a high trust community that is being rocked by these horrible policies and implementations. And I hear it all the time that the same repeat offenders are arrested. And then it's mountains of paperwork for the police officers to go through, only to find out that they are back on the streets by the time they're done their shift or by the time that they are signing on to their next shift. So they're seeing these repeat offenders over and over out in the community. They are literally repeat offending in those same communities. And so it really is demoralizing for both the community and the police officers who are trying to do their job to keep the streets safe and arrest these criminals. But our judicial system is just, I mean, finally, Ford's calling it what it is. It's broken. And where was he, last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? I mean, better late than never, I suppose. But geez, Doug Ford took you a while on this one.
Is that in Toronto that they were saying that put your key next to your door?
Yes. Yeah. The Toronto police, they were saying, don't lock your vehicle door and leave the keys at the front door so that you don't get hurt when the thieves try to come into your home to steal your vehicle. That's how crazy it is in the city of Toronto. And where was Doug Ford then? This is great that he's saying these things and taking this hard stance. And a lot of people are saying, hey, this is the Doug Ford that I once voted for. But it's just, my faith in people like Doug Ford is just not very high, if you can't already tell. David Menzies and others have nicknamed him Flip Flop Ford. And you can see that on full display almost every single time he talks. You just wait for the polling to come in or the winds to blow the other direction. And all of a sudden Ford is gone with the wind. So here we have another clip actually of him basically saying the same. He's slamming the Liberal government, which I would argue he just kind of in a roundabout way, actually not even in a roundabout way, directly campaigned for or supported rather during the federal election. He is now slamming them for allowing violent offenders back onto Canadian streets and wants to all of a sudden uphold the criminal code.
Let's face it, Canada's economy isn't heading in the right direction. Inflation's eating away your savings, and government debt is out of control. No politician is going to fix that overnight. With Guildhall Wealth, you can hold real physical gold and silver inside your RRSP. It's a time-tested way to protect your retirement and take back control of your wealth. Call 1-877-8-SILVER or visit guildhallwealth.com/rebel to request your free investor kit. And hey, make sure to mention Rebel News.
Have you spoken to the Prime Minister since that letter? Have you gotten his attention? If you have, is that something that was addressed when you guys spoke?
Yeah, and I spoke to him yesterday, but it's all the premiers. This is a second letter now to the federal government. I got to give a shout out to Wab Canoe. He's sending another letter as well, the Premier of Manitoba. The guy's an absolute champion. And all the premiers have signed off on it. When I did it the first time, usually it takes, a week, 2 weeks to get a consensus. I made 12 other phone calls to all the premiers. Every single one of them said, we're in, we're in, we're in. It didn't matter what political stripe. And we have all three political colors as premiers. But they all agree on one thing: let's stop the crime. And this falls this falls on the lap of the federal government. They do the criminal code. I have an idea. The federal government, let us do the criminal code. And I'll guarantee you, tomorrow, once we have a criminal code, then bang, this will stop immediately. And we'll be building more jails. We're already building jails, but we'll be building more jails because these guys are going to be in jail. And they're going to think twice about going and robbing someone when they know the sentence is going to be 5 to 10 years in maximum security prison. Watch how quickly it stops.
So it sounds like you're kind of lost confidence in the federal government. How confident are you that this new government will do something about bail reform?
Well, I'm confident that hopefully the new prime minister, unlike the previous prime minister, didn't want to do anything. The new prime minister, I have confidence that he believes in keeping communities safe, which I know he believes in that. And I'm sure he believes in keeping criminals in jail. So let's see what happens. But again, I'll be on them like an 800-pound gorilla, like I've never been on them before, because people are fed up. They're done with us.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. What you think that just because they changed the face of the leader, that will change something when you have the exact same cabinet behind you?
Right.
I don't think so. And you know what it looks like? And I'm pretty sure, make my words, but it seems like Doug Ford is now training himself to be the first opposition of the Liberals and trying to crack down on the Liberals and do the job of the conservative leader. I don't know if he's training himself to maybe look for the position as the next leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, but it looks like.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that he's kind of posturing himself to take on that role. So that will be really interesting because I don't remember the last time that Doug Ford was on the Liberal Party of Canada, Justin Trudeau, Mark Carney et al., like an 800-pound gorilla. I mean, if that, he's always like, oh, we have each other's backs and we're all in this together and we love working together and having, as I like the way that Jamil Javi put it, the MP, I think it's for North Oshawa, anyway, somewhere in Durham, that he's out just having lattes and cappuccinos with Justin Trudeau. And I mean, that is so, like the amount of truth that he spoke in those comments. And I think we've played that on the live stream earlier this week. But for anyone who's not familiar with that clip, it's pretty easy to find Jamil giving those remarks on election night after his win and heavily criticizing Doug Ford and how he conducted himself throughout the writ period for those 37 days. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's, again, better late than never. Oh, there he is. Sorry, he's having lattes and cappuccinos with Carney. These people are so just out of touch and like there's no adversity in their lives. So I guess it's better, like I said, it's better late than never that Doug Ford is all of a sudden coming out of the gate with a bit of a backbone. But we'll see if it's just empty words once again from Doug Ford, and if the wind changes direction, which way he'll flop next.
And he say, well, let's build more jail. Okay, look at the jail here in Quebec. There is recently someone who went on, I think it was the main person in charge of this union of the officer working in the jails system, and they were saying like there is drone doing delivery of packages to the people in prison. They have like a lot of different stuff like happening. Like, how come you are in a jail system and you can actually order Amazon stuff and being delivered straight to you without passing by the main person to look into the packages? They are just bringing like at their window, and they can just remove the window and like take the package and put back the window. Like, it's how the jail system is working right now. Some of them have like phone. Some of them were able to bring so many different devices into the jail system. Now they can also threaten the people that are outside from the prison to show like, oh, they are badass and they are going to go after you if you are doing something. So the jail system, in itself, as a building, it's broken.
Yeah, that reminds me too. There was a piece out a couple weeks ago. There's the Quebec man arrested for the drone drop. But just a few weeks ago, actually, maybe it was only last week or the week prior, but inmates are now going to be able to access the internet. They're going to be given phones, tablets, and internet access, which it has not happened previously. So not only is it difficult to retain these criminals and actually get them behind bars, but once they are behind bars, the rope that they are supposed to be bound by is just being loosened and loosened and loosened, is becoming more comfy and cozy. I mean, jail is not supposed to be a pleasant place to live. And here
jail
they
is
are
supposed to be a huge punishment for those criminals to think twice when they go out
yes.
of the jail if they will repeat again criminal offenses. And this is not something that would deter them. They would just do it again and again, because when they go into jail, they have everything that they need, as access to everything. So where is the deterrent for them to not doing again and again and again a criminal offense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. There's no deterrence. And the criminals are laughing, as Doug Ford says, in the back of the police cruiser, going, haha, look at you. Now you have to do mountains of paperwork, use up and tie up your time and your resources to finish all this paperwork. And they'll probably be back on the street before they're even done submitting all that paperwork. And the criminals, the repeat offenders, they know that. They know how to scam the system. They're becoming more familiar with the lax rules, and there's no accountability and there's no deterrent for them to, live a straight and clean and sober life. So that's really, that's going to bring back street justice eventually, right? If there's no actual justice, then people will start taking things into their own hands. And that's the territory that you don't want to be in when you live in a high trust society that's supposed to have checks and balances in place to uphold public and community safety. And when those things aren't happening, well, then people become increasingly frustrated and emboldened to take matters into their own hands. So something better change here, because I think that's probably the trajectory, sad as it is, that a lot of communities are in currently, with the current state of affairs that we have.
Do you agree with me? It is time to make Canada great again. And that is why we at Rebel News have teamed up with MCGA hats to introduce, the fashion sensation of 2025. Oh, and by the way, these beautiful hats, they are made in Canada. We don't rely on cheap imports coming over from China. So what are you waiting for, folks? Show your pride. This is the perfect thing for a patriot to wear, or maybe there's a patriot in your life that you would like to gift such a hat. Please go to mcgahats.ca. That's mcgahats.ca. Don't be shy about it. Wear this cap. Let everybody know you want to make Canada great again.